Welcome to the What's Your Weird Story podcast.
Everyone has at least one good story.
And some of us have stories that are just to the left of normal.
We're interested in the ones that push the boundaries of what we can perceive.
Stories that defy explanations.
Stories with an air of mystery.
Stories we might not share
for fear of being thought of differently.
But don't worry, we're all friends here. So, what's your weird story? Hello, Weirdsville. How's everybody doing? Thank you for joining us once again on your weekly weird podcast of true stories and experiences from you, our friends and listeners. I am your host, Adam Beebe. With me, as always, is your other host, Barry Johnston. Hello, Barry.
Hey, how's it going? How was Thanksgiving?
It was good, dude. It was low-key. I didn't do anything, really, to be honest with you. I didn't go down to see the family or anything. I just worked. I did some artwork and finished up a pretty cool commission piece for one of our friends who has been here on the podcast. But it was a large zombie family portrait.
Nice.
And it was a lot of fun. And I finished that up yesterday so that it'll be ready for the holidays.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
People can go on my Instagram and which is BB Art, which is BEEBYART, and they can check that out if they want. If they don't follow me, please follow me. Feel free. And but I finished that up, man. How about you?
Just ate a lot of turkey and still recovering from that. I probably got to lose some weight now. I always do it. I always overdo the first round. The first plate is pretty full, but then I haven't had a chance for the body to recognize it's been fed, so I always go back. And the second plate is almost as full as the first plate.
Oh, yeah.
But by the time you get about halfway through it, you're like, oh my God, I've overdone it, But
of course.
But it was.
What's your favorite?
Gosh, my favorite thing. It's always the sides. It's never the turkey. Turkey's turkey, in my opinion. Yeah. I've made some good turkeys, but they're just, my favorite thing is green bean casserole, probably.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm going to go
good.
there. Yeah.
That's very Midwestern of you, I
think. You got to do it, man. And you got to have the fried onion rings on top.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
I go that way. And then, of course, I love dressing. I love stuffing.
Of course. Yeah, the stuffing is the best, man.
Oh, it's so good. But then I got to say, man, my mom makes, and I know everyone has seen this, but the marshmallows, you do the marshmallows and then you do like the canned fruit. It's very kind of white trashy, right? But like you sort of make this fruit salad out of the thing,
Right.
Oh,
yeah.
God, dude, I love that stuff, man. I love that stuff.
Did you guys have any kind of Jello with
no, but
inside?
I know, and that's another Midwest, like Southern Midwestern thing, isn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely, man. As far as I know, man, for sure. My grandma used to make the orange. It was usually I think it was usually orange.
Okay.
Jello with carrots inside or something.
Okay.
I loved, and we'd have that. Old ladies at our church would make that too.
Right. Yeah, we did. My aunt, man, one of my favorite things that she would make is it was the grape Jello with grapes inside.
Oh wow.
Of the Jello, but she would put Coke in there. It would be in the mix. Oh my God, dude. Amazing.
Weird.
Oh, so good. It gives it that sort of that zing, it gives it a little bit of woo, a little something extra, man.
That's wild.
Yeah. But that's funny. So yeah, Jello with stuff in it is.
Yeah, man.
That's very, very Oklahoma.
For sure, man.
But yeah.
The dressing is definitely my favorite. You can't go wrong with dressing and some gravy on there.
Oh, so
and
good.
Then, of course, mashed potatoes and gravy, but also, man, I'll tell you what, fried okra.
Fried okra, man. That's for sure.
That is heaven.
If people
that stuff is heaven.
If you've never tried fried okra, You got to give it a shot. It's
And
so
there are
good.
people that haven't. I know people that, especially people in the Northeast, who'd never heard of fried okra, and it's just
so good.
So good. And there's people make it different ways. Some people make it a little bit where it's a little lighter,
lighter on the batter,
and it's kind of fluffier. But then some people make it where it's like it's got a thicker batter where it like really absorbs the grease,
right?
And you got to pat that grease off. But people don't like the texture, but
I'll take it either way. I'll
take okra just about any way.
For sure. Yeah, I like pickled okra too, man. Big time.
Have you had? I know this is a more southern thing, but it's okra and tomatoes.
No, I don't think I've ever had that.
It's odd because it's a kind of a sweeter type of thing.
But sounds good.
And
though.
It's not fried okra. It's okra and stewed okra and stewed tomatoes kind of together. It's weird,
Wow. Well, you say that, but you know what, man? Sometimes like what is it? Is it gumbo? Is it gumbo?
Yeah,
or jumbo?
it's kind of,
you know what I mean? How they do that? They'll put the okra in.
Oh yeah.
That's good stuff, dude.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah. We could talk about this forever.
we certainly could. So anyway, this week's guest, as mentioned last week, is our first three-peater, and it's our good friend Desi.
Yeah, she's got her own little portion of our universe that is dedicated to her. And we love her for it. That's the reason why we want to have people back, is because, people start to identify with other folks that we've had on, and it's fun and it's a good thing. And she was reluctant. She was reluctant, but we wanted to get her on. So
we said we saw her at the What's Your Beer Story event, and she's like, well, I want her to write it in, and we were like, no, you're coming on because we enjoy talking to Desi, and she had new stuff to tell us, and she and that's another thing with weirdness and high strangeness, is that sometimes it doesn't just happen the once. Sometimes it happens all the time, and we love hearing about it, obviously. And so, we twisted her arm a little bit, and we got her back, and we had yet another great time just hanging out and chatting with our good buddy Des. So,
so let's get her on here.
Yeah.
Hey, Desi, welcome back. What's your weird story?
Well, thanks for having me back. I really appreciate it. So this summer, I was in Kingfisher, America. It was at a little kid's birthday party at the Splash Pad, kind of just off 13th Street. I don't know if you guys have been there. Pretty big deal. So
that's a new one on me.
Right. So the party was like in the heat of the summer. So the party was like from 10 till noon in the morning to escape the heat of the day, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So at noon, my daughter and I leave the little birthday party, and we're going to run over and have lunch with my grandma. And so it was going to be her and my aunt that lives with her, and then my uncle and his wife and her sister that's visiting from Michigan. Okay. So I'm pulling up to the house. I'm, pulling past to pull into the driveway, and out of the corner of my eye, I notice anytime they're expecting us, they have the front door open. They have like a storm door, the glass door there. And the front door is open, so you can see into the house. So I'm about to turn into the driveway, and I notice out of the corner of my eye is a man is standing in the doorway of the house. He's not squared up to the door, but he's standing perpendicular so that his, how you stand back to let someone walk in through a door, he was standing back up against the open door. Mm-hmm. So if he looks at over his right shoulder, he's looking out to the street. And if he looks over his left shoulder, he's looking into the house.
Yeah. So he's standing profile there.
Right. Okay. And because of the way the light is and the shadows of the house, I can only see from the shoulder down. But I can tell I could tell right away he was taller than my uncle, which as far as I knew, my uncle was going to be the only man that was expected to be there. I knew it wasn't him. It was too tall for him, but he was standing like him. Shoulders out, tummy kind of sticking out, his shoulders up, tummy sticking out, feet kind of pointed out. You know how
Yeah.
old men kind of stand, you know. Standing just like that, like my uncle stands, but taller. It was that fast. It was just an instant. Out of the corner of my eye, I see this, and I think, oh, well, somebody else is here. I did think of my grandfather, who died 10 or so years ago, but, you know, of course, instantly dismissed that because he died 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know who it was. I'm pulling into the driveway. What do I got to get? You know, her clothes are still wet. We're going to go in and change. And I'm doing the little mental inventory when you get out of the car with a kid. You know, you got everything. And I had totally forgotten about it. Didn't think another thought about it. I go up to the house and I do not see anyone standing there. So I figure, well, whoever was there must have gone to tell everybody, hey, they just pulled up, whatever. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But usually when we pull up, everybody notices and they've kind of come out and they're kind of at the door to greet us when we come in, usually. But this time I get up there, the man is gone, and we walk in, hello, and everybody was back around in the kitchen, had no idea that we had arrived, which surprised me. Okay, who cares? You know, big deal. Oh, hi, hugs. It's so good to see you. No. You know, we eat lunch, we visit, and after about an hour or so, I remember, I wonder, you know, I'm kind of looking at everybody. Well, the only man that was there was my Uncle Terry, and he had on a bright blue tank top. And the person I saw in the doorway had on a white T-shirt. I don't know if I mentioned that. Plain white T-shirt. So my uncle had on a bright blue tank top. Definitely wasn't him. My aunt's sister that was there visiting had on a tank top. She was taller, but she had on a tank top and was obviously a woman, you know. My aunt had on a white dress with bright flowers all over it, but there was no taller man with a white T-shirt. So I asked my aunt, hey, does Grandma ever see Grandpa? And she kind of looked at me like I was a lunatic because he's been dead all these years.
Right.
No. I said, no, I don't think so. So I asked her, do you ever see him here? Because, you know, you hear stories from widows that, especially when they've been married, you know, for 55, 60 years or whatever, that they'll look over and see him sitting at the table just for an instant. Right. You know, I mean, I don't know if you guys have heard stories like that, but I've been told by several widows, you know, that they'll see their late husband. And I thought maybe she does, but I asked her and she looked at me like I was a lunatic and said no. So I told them what I saw. And my aunt said, and she looks around, but there's nobody else here. Mm-hmm. I said, I know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But there was a man standing in the doorway when I drove by. But no, there's nobody else here. I said, yeah, exactly. You know, where did he go? Who was it? You know, so,
wow.
And I wanted to make a point to Adam when, like you say, you have never seen anything. Mm-hmm. If I had just been driving by that house and seen that and kept on going, I would never know that maybe that wasn't actually a person at all. Mm-hmm. But so I have to wonder how many times in our life do we see something and we don't even realize we're seeing something.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Does that make sense? You know, because I didn't realize what at the time. I didn't realize. I just thought there was a person standing there.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
I think, Adam, maybe, have you guys ever watched The Haunting of Hill House or whatever on Netflix? Did you see that series that came out last year? It was so good. Yes. Oh my God.
I'm so bad about.
Oh, it's so good. But when I hear Adam say things like, I've never seen anything, it makes me think of the brother that's like, oh, I never saw anything. And then his dad's like, and points out all the things that he had been seeing and had no idea.
Yeah. No, that's crazy. I don't know. I mean, my sister saw my grandfather one time after he passed. She says that he came and sat on the bed, you know?
Oh.
And she never had anything like that happen ever before. Also, you know, she's just like,
Oh my God.
she just sort of like, she woke up and he was there, and he said something to her, and then boom, it was gone, you know. And she didn't believe it, and she didn't say anything for a long time, and then she finally said something about it. But we've talked about that before too, is like, you know, and you're in different states of mind, like sometimes asleep and awake, and then in your situation, you know, you're just passing by, not really thinking about anything, and then something catches your eye, you know. It's like, it's just very, very interesting stuff. I don't know, how do you get to the bottom of that? I don't know. It's bizarre. It's bizarre.
And every time I drive by, I look to see, like, was there some strange reflection that looked like a T-shirt in a stance,
Right.
you know, even though it was,
Did you think,
I try to find explanations, but it never looks anything like that.
Did you think it was was that one of the first things that hit your mind when you saw the figure?
Yeah.
Because it kind of reminded you of him, the way he stood or something?
Yes. It looked like, but I instantly dismissed it because, you know, so.
Because he's passed, so yeah.
Right, yeah.
Wow.
I don't know. I think that, like, you know, I haven't seen anything consciously that I'm aware of. But, you know, I think that, you know, I still think that some people are more sensitive or more wired to it. Maybe their perception is a little bit broader. I also think that maybe because I've worn glasses since, like, I don't know, 4th grade. So that my the corner of my eye is always blurry, so it's you know, I don't pay as much attention, and some frames would like catch something there on the corner, you know, and so maybe
and you'll see a reflection.
Yeah. So you know,
I
so
do
maybe
that.
I've trained myself.
Even without glasses, I do that as well.
So
Right.
I might have trained myself to, you know, ignore what might be there. The only time that I think that I may have had any kind of unusual experience is one time I was in a hotel room in Tulsa, and I was like just laying down on the bed, and I felt like something like jump on the bed, but what it felt like was like a cat. You know, because it wasn't the weight of a human, but it felt like there was just like, you know, the weight of a cat kind of jumped on the bed, and there wasn't any kind of impression or anything like that. And I was kind of in that almost asleep kind of state, you know, but, you know, I mean, that was it, you know, so I don't know what it is. I mean, a ghost cat in a hotel seems unusual, but I mean,
It's possible. But you just reminded me, oh my God, whenever I used to live in this little apartment at 18th and Classam. Fantastic little pad. The building had been built like in the 20s. And, you know, it had like with a dumbwaiter where they delivered water or milk back in the day. Like that was still there. It was a really, really neat building. And I lived there for 6 years. I really loved it. Anyway, never had anything strange ever happen there. You would think of all places, you know, that just in the time that I lived in that building, 3 elderly people died. I mean,
I was going to ask how many people had died there as a joke, but, you know.
Untold numbers, I'm sure. So I had to put a cat down while I was living there. And I really loved my little cat, Floyd. And anyway, until I moved away, I think he was still there. As crazy as that sounds, like, you know, a cat, you recognize the sounds they make, like the way it sounds when he would jump off the couch onto the hardwood floor.
Yeah.
The way that sounds when his paws hit the floor. Like I would hear that pretty regularly, or I would feel him hop up on the bed, like little things like that, which, I mean, I loved. I found it very, he's still here. You know, I mean, it might freak some people out, but I kind of liked it. So you made me think of my ghost cat. I have had a couple of things happen here at this house that I haven't told anybody about. My husband doesn't even know about these little things.
That's what we're here for.
But I want to preface all of it by saying I knew this was our house from the moment we walked in to look at it, to see it. I have never been afraid here. I've not even been almost close to being creeped out. I love, this is my house. I love it. Like I feel really connected to it. I don't know. It's weird. But the other day, I don't know, a couple months ago, probably, when I look out my hallway door or out my office door, I can see straight across the hall into the little dressing room. Mm-hmm. And like we were saying, when you're wearing glasses, it's easy to look around and, see a little reflection, like a flash or something, mm-hmm. right? And I always, it's just my glasses, I don't think anything of that.
Yeah.
So I was sitting here really staring intently at something for work. And I wasn't moving, but out of the corner of my eye, right in the hallway, straight to my left, I saw the outline of like a person, not really a shadow, but just like, I don't know, I could see through it, but it was just like an outline, just step out of the dressing room and into the hallway and walk. And I was like, I hadn't been moving, so I know it wasn't me creating a flash of a reflection on my glasses. I was very still and really concentrating, but I clearly saw it. And it did kind of make me sit back and just collect myself for a second because it really surprised me.
Wow.
Understandably.
Yeah. And then, but that's the only time I've ever seen anything. The other things are audible. Like I was sitting here at my desk one day and I heard it sounded like a woman cough, just very, very clear, but it was like it was muted. Like not necessarily in the same room with me, kind of like it was in another room, but it was just muted in a different way. I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah,
I heard it.
Wow.
But it was like, I don't know.
Wow.
And like one time when Sophie, she was like 3, and her big thing was, "Hi, how are you?" She had started going to daycare, and that was her little phrase she came home saying all the time. And I was in the living room or something, and she just took off running one day toward, up toward the front door. "Hi, how are you?" Like greeting somebody. I don't know who she was talking to.
Oh.
And there's something about that area, because like there's the front door and then the door that goes out to the garage is close by. In that area, there's something about like the dog will look over there and bark, or, I feel like it was on more than one occasion. There was that time that she said, "Hi, how are you?" to somebody over there. And then seems like there was another time she did something in that direction, which I thought was strange. And then like another time I was in the laundry room throwing clothes from the washer to the dryer, and my friend Kristen was going to be here anytime. So the front door open, the storm door. We have a storm door, so that was closed, but the front door is open, so she could just come on in.
Right.
So I was expecting her to come on in, and I hear Sophie kind of take off down the little walkway toward the front door, and I hear someone saying, "Hi, how are you?" Like real sweet, sing-songy, but I could barely hear it. Again, like it was muted, like I could barely hear it. And I assumed Kristen was here.
Right.
Because I could hear in the same way that she would be talking to Sophie. But I thought, why is she being so quiet? So I finished throwing everything in there, start the jar, and I come out fully expecting, and there's nobody. It's just my kid just dawdling around.
Wow.
I was like, what did you? And, asking her questions, even now, she's 7.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like talking to a cat.
Yeah.
You can't really get firm, decisive answers. You can have a conversation, but you're going to come away feeling dumber than you did before you started it. So trying to get information out of her was just useless and a waste of time.
Yeah.
So the only other thing that has happened was in here. This was actually when we bought this house in 2015, and this was Sophie's room. Her crib was in here, and this was her room, and the other room was the office, and we've since obviously done a switch. But it was in here. She was about 2 or 3, and I was a cried out mom. You know, when we would read at night, I would rock her, I would put her down. And if sometimes she would lay down and go right to sleep, and sometimes she would lay there and cry for a little while. 2 or 3 years old she's fine.
Right.
But if she would cry for more than 10 or 15 minutes, I would come back in, you know, and settle her down. But usually she was out within 5.
Yeah.
So this one particular night, she just would not settle down and was just screaming. And so I come to comfort her. And when I opened the bedroom door, there was like another voice like singing, and it abruptly stopped when I opened the door, like, ah. But I could barely hear it because she was like just screaming.
Yeah.
Oh my God, dude.
But when I opened the door, it just like just stopped.
Whoa.
Like I had interrupted it. And that was, I didn't know what to think about
Wow.
that.
And
So
this all happened when she was around like 2 or 3, you said? This is all relatively in the same time period?
I think let me see. I've got a little note here. Yeah, I guess so. 2, 3, 4 years old. I haven't really, other than seeing the outline here at the door, I haven't really experienced anything since those things, I don't think.
Wow.
Occasionally I'll hear something up by the garage door, but the house is kind of settled there and there's a loose tile.
Mm-hmm.
And if you step on it just right, it kind of makes a click sound. Like, so
Right.
I'll hear it click in the middle of the night and I just assume it's the cat walking across it. So
Well, it's
that's what I'm going
certainly
with.
it's certainly a comforting thought that it's just the cat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
Wow.
I'm going with. So
Wow. So so disembodied voices or sounds. That is one of the more intriguing things about the haunting thing. You know, do you know anything about the history of the house?
this house was built in 1978.
Uh-huh.
The people that we bought it from had been here. We bought it in 2015, and they had been here since the early 90s. And so they raised their family here. The husband was a handyman, so he had really done a nice job maintaining the home. And that's all I know about it. We met them at the closing, and they were fantastic people and raised their daughters here and were ready to move on to something else and had a hard time letting go of the house. But like I said, I've never been creeped out here. I do feel like there may be a woman, but it's okay, I guess. It's the best way I can describe it, because I'm not scared.
It's weird.
Yeah, if you're comfortable there.
Yeah. It's weird how we associate hauntings to be like with old buildings, and that's not that's not necessarily the case.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, like I said, I lived in a building that was nearly 100 years old, that other than my ghost cat, you know, like there wasn't like in the past, like past people living there to haunt, that I was not in apartment D anyway. But but here in this house, I don't know about the people who lived here before the 90s. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, or it may not even be any of that. It could be something that was sort of attracted there for some reason or something, too.
Maybe.
Crazy. Wow.
And the girl, the babysitter girl, she picked up the phone, and there was a policeman on the other side, and he said, "We've tracked the phone call, and it's coming from inside the house."
Whoa.
Yeah, dude.
I love those urban legend stories.
Dude, I do too. And you remember the one where the girl, it's always the babysitter or it's the kids making out in Lover's Lane, but there's the one with the girl who comes up and she finds the kids are watching TV and she turns them around and their face has SpaghettiOs.
Oh, man. Or the Hook guy. Remember the Hook guy?
The hook was hanging from the rear view mirror. Yeah. So if you got a story that is similar to any of those awesome urban legends, we want to hear it. Because, you know, those urban legends, man, they started off as somebody's true life weird story. It's got to be true somewhere.
But nobody knows about those things. That
Well,
I haven't told my husband. I don't know what he'll think. So
Does he? The
world does. So,
what are his thoughts and feelings on that kind of stuff? Does he believe in it, or? Yes,
he does actually.
Okay. So you don't say anything to protect him, basically?
No, I don't know why I haven't told him. I really don't know why. I just haven't told anybody. I guess I'm waiting for more of it to pile up.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. Yeah.
Like, well, someday I'll tell them, but for now, it hasn't felt like it's significant enough to share, I guess.
Sure.
I wonder if he has had his own experiences that he's also kind of kept to himself because he doesn't want to concern you or, anybody else.
I don't think he does here because he does feel like he's a little bit sensitive. He does feel like he can feel things. Mm-hmm. He's got an aunt that is very, I don't know how does his aunt and his sister both, his sister Mika, oh my gosh, I don't know how much of this I want to get into without him, but he has witnessed his sister channel like another person, I guess, like a spirit. I feel kind of hokey saying channeling a spirit, but I guess I could tell you this story too, because I've heard him tell it 1,000 times. So when he was about, 13, and his older brother was 18, his brother, or no, maybe they're a little bit younger. Anyway, they had an uncle that lived in the house, his mother's brother, that was an alcoholic, and he just had a ton of issues, and there was a lot of torment, and it was a very tumultuous period of their lives. His dad fought with the uncle all the time, and it was a very, tense household during that period. And so one night, his sister, who was about 13, the adults were all asleep, and he and his sister and his brother were in a bedroom playing video games or something. I don't know what they were doing, but they were still awake. And the sister started, like, her voice changed, her demeanor changed, and she started saying really awful things like, I hate all of you, and I want to kill all of you. Very bizarre things, uncharacteristic, very deep, strange voice. And it was really scary because obviously she was not the one saying these things. And so he and his brother had no idea what to do, and they did not want to get his parents up. That was probably for the best, actually, not waking up his parents. But so they just started praying, putting their hands, and they're not a particularly religious family. I don't think they went to church on a regular basis or anything, but they didn't know what else to do, so they prayed. And eventually she suddenly stops, and they said she was calm for a second, and then her demeanor changed again, and she started talking like a very old, feeble woman, and saying, it's okay, I'm here to help. Help me get up. Like, couldn't stand up on her own. And we're talking about a 13-year-old girl talking a very old lady's voice. Everything was changed. She said it was like he was looking at an old lady.
Wow.
So they help her up, and they're freaked out. I mean, they don't know what to think. And she's calming them down. I'm here to help. I need you to take me outside. And they said, no way. And she said, yes, just outside the front door. You have to take me out there. So they help her, it was like a 90-year-old woman. And they go outside, and like she does something around the door and says, I want to say she was saying things that he didn't understand.
Right.
And then they go back in the house, and she sits back down, and then suddenly she's back. It's just Mika again. Whoa. And the boys are just flabbergasted. He said they just didn't know what to think, and they asked her if she knew what had been happening, and she said she could hear everything. She couldn't see it, I don't think, but it was like she was somewhere else. And she was very tired now after she came back. And he said that, I guess, a year or two later, maybe, his brother went through a really tough breakup and was really having a hard time. And my husband would hear his sister, and they're talking to his brother at night, but it wasn't her. It was like a woman, like a woman's voice, like counseling him. And it was his sister, but it was this woman named Rose. And Rose would come just to counsel his brother, I guess.
Wow.
And he said she would say, "Do you like the flower in my hair?" And she would do her hair over her ear and tilt her head, and as if there was a flower there, but there wasn't. And she would stand back holding, like if you had on a big full skirt and you grabbed a hold of the side of your skirt and kind of twirled it around, like flipped your skirt around, sort of. She would do that motion with her hand and say, "Do you like my pretty skirt?" And like twirl around, even though she was just a kid, you know. But she would do all that. And it was like she came around and helped get his brother through that period. And then that was it. They didn't ever see her again.
Wow.
So,
Jeez.
yeah, I love it. Every time he tells those stories, I'm just like on the edge of my seat because I'm just amazed by it. I mean, it's just, and I don't know if anything has happened since, but he says that she works very hard to block all that out and just not have anything to do with those abilities or any of that, because it's just too much for her. I feel like someday she's going to have to face it. But
Deal with that, right? Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
see how it goes.
I'll probably never know what that feels like, but from what I hear, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
People that have that ability, but
That's what he was saying.
it's also a gift. I mean, that it's a gift. I think.
agree. I agree, because I think his brother was having some dark, terrible thoughts, and she got him through it, you know?
Right.
So it was like she showed up just for that.
I don't know if
Very strange.
I don't know if I ever shared this
That is
or not.
wild. That is wild.
When I grew up, I had a distant relative, that my dad would take me to go see once in a while. He was a preacher, and they spoke in tongues. And his whole thing was he was one of these guys that would go to Africa and like cast demons out of people and stuff.
Wow.
And I just never knew what to make of it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just
For sure.
It's like,
I mean, I'm sure now you're full of questions, but when you're a kid, it's like a little intimidating, I'm sure.
Very, very.
Well, and we grew up
Yeah.
Methodist, right? And
which
the
is
Methodists are
very
just
vanilla.
like
Vanilla.
very
Oh, yeah,
vanilla,
Baptist
the most
church.
vanilla, you know.
Yeah.
Like they always joked that the Methodist amen was, you know, when somebody yells out amen, that was just a nod,
Right.
you know.
Right.
So-
Right.
Right.
But man, I would go and I'd see them. He would preach and they would start speaking in tongues, and it would scare the hell out of me, man.
Yes.
It just like I didn't know what was going on, and it just something in the air changed, you know, and it was just like, okay, is this real? And what are they doing?
Right.
Anyone that has ever witnessed something like that, I think as a kid, I think you're even more perceptive to the changes in the air, you know, to the thing that's happening there. And thinking back on it, like you just telling that story, like that's the only thing that in my life that I can think about me being involved with, where I saw something kind of, I don't know if you'd call it channeling, but there was something, I don't know what was going on, but there was something going on there.
Right.
It could have been total bullshit. I don't know, but
even if it was nothing, they were in the moment and they were feeling for lack of a better term, they were feeling the spirit, you know, so they were accessing something within themselves beyond, you know, and they were expressing themselves through a way that is unusual and you know, for most people at least, you know, for the speaking in tongue thing is very unusual. And you know, I mean, I've heard people doing the speaking in tongue things too, and sometimes it just sounds like complete, like these guys are just charlatans, and other times just like there's something going on. There's something going on. Yeah.
Well,
so
I mean, you can like think about like a sporting event, you know, you go there and there's real like tide changes in emotions of the game, and like in a lot of ways, like I think that some of that stuff, that they're conjuring up is that kind of a feeling. They're putting their energy and emotions into something and bringing them to life. Maybe there's some of that going on. I don't know, but the human mind and the spirit and the congregation of people and what you can do as a group is pretty cool and weird.
Yeah.
I thought about that. Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
As long as it's pushed in a positive direction.
Yes. Right.
Because we all know that
Right.
you can also get a
Mob
people-
mentality.
Exactly.
Ooh, yeah.
They can be worked up, and where totally rational people can get or surrounded by other people who are, or in a group of people that, and all of a sudden things change, and then they can all get worked up and do things, behave ways that they normally wouldn't, and that can be positive or that can be negative. And so it's that definitely, like you said, that mob mentality.
Right.
So,
It's interesting stuff to think about that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Why we're designed to be that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good question. Huh.
We are social creatures, and we do want to go along with, for the most part, we want to go along with to fit in, to feel like to fit in. But, there is, that's not always a good thing. Fitting in and going along is not always a good thing because, people get caught up in whatever it is and do stupid things. Like people at look at all the soccer fights.
Oh, yeah. The hooliganism.
Hooliganism, man.
Yeah.
When they just attack each other and beat each other down over football, soccer, over a sport. And this is not a life or death sport. It's entertainment.
Right. There's a stadium in Brazil that my husband has talked about. They have tall fences in between. Like this team's fans can sit over here.
Right.
These guys, they have to keep them separate because
they enter the stadium through opposite ends. You don't go on that side of the town. Like when I was in Germany, that was a big deal too. They would during game day, there were two teams in town, and you did not go to the opposing bar.
Wow.
I mean, people get knifed, man. I mean, killed because of wearing, the other team's colors and stuff. It's just so that believes me. Like if you think back like on the Romans and what they did for entertainment.
Oh yeah.
And I'm thinking about this too. The Dunbar number. I don't know if you're very familiar with that, but the Dunbar numbers it's this number that back when we were hunters or gatherers, that the average village would be about 150 people, and that the human brain is only capable of having relationships with about that many people, like that people that you are friendly with, right? But then if you multiply that number up to those sides of crowds, something changes, and then suddenly you're watching people getting freaking eaten by lions, and you're like cheering on, you know what I mean? It's just like that's a cool.
What was the name of that again? The
Dunbar number.
I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah, Dunbar number.
As passionate as people are, I'm surprised about sports and like that. I'm surprised that in Oklahoma during Bedlam, when OU plays OSU, that there's never been anything so crazy like that. Because people outside of Oklahoma don't realize basically there's two big schools and they're bloody rivalries, man.
Yeah.
And it's like houses will be divided. Friends will be not friends for a week or two.
That's right.
The week before and the week after when they play. So I mean,
really, I think the rivalry, the OU Texas rivalry, is even
crazy
worse, like even more hated.
Yeah.
Well, that's because it's Texas, and that's more of a state, between the two states.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's I think that's probably equal, but that's always because I was on the Oklahoma State side, and we just hated OU. We didn't hate everybody else. OU just hated everybody.
I'm a big Sooner fan, so
Barry and I were when we were little kids, man, it was the dumbest thing.
You just talk shit, man.
Yeah. And I didn't know anything. I didn't know why I even liked OSU. My dad went there.
That's the way
that was it,
Yep.
So that's why I supported it,
Right.
But you know what? We are all united in Toffee and
that's
fuck yeah, man.
Dang,
yes,
guys,
man.
because nobody ever has heard of Toffee and they look at me like I'm crazy. And I'm like, this is the best candy there is.
It is one of those things where it's true passion. You know, when you've tasted a toffee, you've been baptized by just the gloriousness. I don't think that there's much more that can be said. It's like being a fan of like an indie band and just having that love and passion for something and spreading it to everyone that you know. You have to hear this band.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's an enlightenment.
Yeah.
It really is.
You just understand everything so much more.
And it is hard to find. So when you see it, it's like, oh hell! And you got to buy a few boxes and chuck them in the freezer because you don't know when you're going to see them again.
You do. Oh man.
So Toffee people, if you're listening, you can sponsor us and we'll be more than
please.
That would be hilarious.
That's a dream
come true. The gold tray that came in always made me think of, is it C-3PO in Star Wars? Is he the golden one? Like it always made me think of him, like the way that the little things were shipped.
It made me think of like science fiction, like moon bases and stuff like that. So
see how inspiring this candy is, people.
We're not getting paid. This is just pure.
This is
love,
pure love and passion. It's all this is.
It's genuine.
It's funny because since we talked about that, every gas station I pull into, I'm looking, and you can't find it. There's no
same.
No gas stations carry that stuff.
You know what? I found a 4-pack the other day, and now it's like there's a cosmic block. Like I can't think of where I bought it, and it was just it shocked me.
Well, if you figure that out, you let us know.
I will, guys. You know I will.
Well, I'm telling you right now, you go to the drugstores, those chain drugstores.
Walmart,
you can get the 12 or 15, whatever those packs are. You can get the big ones there.
Yeah.
And of course, that's almost like too much joy. You know?
Yeah.
I'm going to eat the whole thing.
I will too, dude.
I eat the whole damn thing.
I will too.
Feel like it's sick.
And I don't feel one bit bad about it. I regret nothing.
The reason why you feel that way, Adam, is because we're used to the 4. We're used to the 4 serving. Yeah. And the 4 is just enough to like, it just leaves you wanting more. You know, it's just like a taste. Yeah. But then when you start getting into the 8 and the 12s, I mean, now you're talking gluttony now, you know?
You gotta stop at 5.
Yeah,
you gotta force yourself to stop at 5.
I think so.
Because, now hear me out, Desi's got this look of just disgust when I'm saying this, but the normal package was 4. Yeah. And that leaves you, like Ray said, that leaves you wanting more. And 5 is right there where you're like, okay, now I've gone past the norm. This is okay. I don't want to go, I'm trying to be an adult. So I do, surprisingly have a lot of self-control because...
But here's the problem with 5, man, is that now you're looking at 7. Now the next day you're looking at 7.
Well, true. This is true.
I'm going to polish off the 7.
But have that problem if you was eating them all to begin with. See?
Well, here's the thing. I say that you need to. 5 is the good number to stop at. I didn't say I personally always stop at 5.
Right.
I have some self-control, but not always.
I feel like we're writing a college dissertation on our love for Toffee as long as we've been talking about it here.
Oh, man. Hey everybody, you're listening to the What's Your Weird Story podcast. You probably knew that already because you're listening or downloaded to the episode off of your iTunes or your Spotify or whatever place you get your podcast from. We want to thank you for listening. We also want to remind you to like us, follow us, subscribe to us, make sure that you get your new podcast episode every week. We'd also like to ask you to rate and review so that we can grow our audience and we can have more friends, we can have more stories. So thanks for listening to What's Your Weird Story. Well, hey, you know what, guys? I've got a story to share of myself earlier this week. And it's a short one, and I've got to pull up my notes that I made. But I figured I'd share it right now with you since you're both here, and it's always good to share with someone else, not just Barry, but with other people. So let me see. Where'd it go?
We need to make a Toffafee shirt. What's your weird Toffafee story or something?
I would buy it.
All right. So it was about it was around 1:15 on a Sunday, and it was a bright sunny afternoon, and it was kind of cool, but there was not, there's clouds in the sky, but they weren't like dense clouds. They're just white fluffy clouds, and but not like all over where it was blocked out the sky or anything like that. So I was driving into work, and I happened to look up in the sky, and I saw this big plane flying over, and it wasn't like a normal jet airliner. It looked more like a big cargo plane, because they have the wings that are set differently, and so it looked kind of like that. And I was like, huh, interesting. And so I looked and saw behind it this other small black shape in the clouds that was moving around behind it, further past it, and it looked kind of like a bird, but it wasn't a bird because it was so far off in relation to this jet. Because I could tell that it was behind the jet and further back up towards in the cloud, But it was just kind of like moving around, but it wasn't like flapping, But it had like this bird shape, and I just sat there and I was like, well, what is that? And I'm driving at the same time, so I'm like one eye on the thing and one eye on what's in front of me, and the plane's out of the picture, and I'm just watching this thing, and I probably watched it for about 30 seconds, and I had to turn, and so when I'm turning, I take my eye off of it for just a second to make sure that I'm fully turning correctly, and then I look back up and it's gone, and it's just. It was just so strange because
how was it flying around, back and forth? Was it darting like up and down? Like
kind of. It was kind of like it was closer to like a bird on a current, right? When they're just kind of soaring.
Yeah.
But if I shouldn't have seen my eyes are not good. I shouldn't have seen a bird that far away and known it was a bird because of the size of a bird, even if it was like a hawk or something like that. This thing was bigger, and I don't think it was huge, but I still think it was just something, and it was just weird because I couldn't figure out what it was, and I'm not like, I wasn't, looking for something, and I don't think it was, I don't know if it was a craft or something like that, but it was just a large shaped kind of a thing that was just behaving oddly and was bigger than a bird should have been. And it wasn't, like I said, flapping his wings. So
out where I live, close to an Air Force base, you see some weird things being flown around. Yeah. And anytime you especially kind of where you live too, that could be a lot of things. Yeah. But you said the one was a cargo plane.
Yeah. Well, see, and here's the thing. We are where that location where I was going to do into work is probably like 30 to 45 minutes away from Dayton from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
Okay. I'm wondering if it could have been a drone or something. That's
do you
know what I'm saying? That's where my mind
actually that could have, I didn't even think about that.
Drones are weird looking because like they can be fairly large.
Yeah.
And they kind of do have a weird shape to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that is, I don't know.
Good point. That's a good point.
Know. But drones in themselves are weird.
Yeah.
Drone technology, I think, is a great thing, but at the same time, drones scare the hell out of me. They have the ability to, kill a bunch of people. So I'm skeptical of drones.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a drone is a machine, and the machine could be used to do many things.
Right,
you can use a tractor can be something for pulling, or it can be something you could turn it around and make it into a tank.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So
yeah. When are they going to start?
Yeah.
When is Amazon going to start doing the package delivery by drone? Is that ever?
well, I don't know,
In
but
some places, and it's, I think they may, I don't know. I think they're doing some very limited.
yeah, I think
Probably testing it right now.
Yeah, I think it'll be probably a while because they have to make. I would think that they have to make it more secure.
Mm-hmm.
They would have to make the drones more reliable.
Right.
And there are people out there who shoot drones whenever
I
they
was
see
gonna
them. They don't
say,
care. They just
Probably
shoot
their
drones.
sole purpose in life would be, I'm going to get me an Amazon drone.
Yeah.
Right.
Like they'd be able to do anything with it afterwards. I guess maybe just being able to say they did it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, who knows? But there are people who will shoot. If they see any kind of drone or anything like that, they're going to shoot it because whatever reason. Maybe they think that they're getting spied on, or who knows. And it doesn't matter. It could be flying a pizza over to somebody else, their neighbor or whatever. But there are people who shoot down drones. And so there's that weird mentality that people are putting that out there. But there's also, you have to figure out a way for air traffic. That's another reason that we haven't really been pushed so far into the flying cars. When we always like, we're going to have flying cars in the 70s or whatever,
Right.
people were saying back in the 40s or something. I don't know. But one of the reasons we probably haven't really advanced in that so much is, there's several reasons, but one of them I would say is because we can't figure out how to drive on the ground in traffic. If you're in the air and you can go 360 degrees,
Yeah.
That's a bad.
That's
scene.
a really bad thing. And you can go really fast as well.
Yeah.
And man,
It really would have to be like on the Jetsons. There are certain,
it would have to be automated.
almost like little thoroughways.
Yeah.
Just how planes do, I guess. There'd be thoroughways for cars, and it would have to be fully automated,
Right.
and it just shoots up, and like the little canister at the bank,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
Exactly,
man. Yeah.
shoot up in there, and off you go.
True.
Always
good.
fun talking to you, Des.
Yeah.
We always have good
Thank you for coming on.
conversations.
Thanks for having me on again. I was, like you guys said, I was very hesitant. I felt a little silly, but
No.
I thought these might be things you guys would like to hear.
That's
so.
great.
Oh, absolutely. That's the thing. We always want to hear. We always tell people we have an open door policy. So
Yeah.
if you have new experiences or you have more experiences, you're always welcome to come back on the show, no matter who you are. We like to talk to people. You're one of our friends. We saw you just a couple of weeks ago at the live show. You came out and supported, and we really appreciate it.
That was great.
It was fun.
I got to say,
That was a good
really
time.
appreciate
That
that. So yeah, don't ever hesitate. Don't, we're buddies. It's cool.
Yeah.
We've known you a long time, and we love talking to you. So
Well, thanks again, you guys. And if anything else happens, I'll let you know.
Cool.
All right. Y'all have a good night.
You too.
take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, that's a nice T-shirt you got on there.
Oh, thanks, dude. It's brand new. Do you like that? It's one of the official What's Your Weird Story t-shirts.
Where'd you get that?
It's funny that you ask. I just got it off the brand new Spreadshirt.com site for the What's Your Weird Story podcast. There's no www. You just go straight to shop.spreadshirt.com/what's without the apostrophe WHATS hyphen YER-WEIRD-STORY. And that'll take you right there.
You can never own enough clothing.
Well, it's true, Barry. There's t-shirts for the ladies because, they're cut differently. There's hoodies, which are really cool. There's two different kinds of hoodies. And there's also tote bags, so you can tote your stuff.
That's so cool, man.
So if you guys go out to spreadshirt.com, What's Your Weird Story, currently there are 2 designs, but there will be more going up very soon. So just keep your eyes out for that. And if you decide to get one of our shirts, tag yourself on Instagram to ours or Facebook. Show your love. Show us what you got. Let's see your true colors.
Wow, Desi, thank you so much again for coming on and sharing those the news stories with us. She just continues to have weird stuff happen.
Yes, and we appreciate it too. We hope that she is also. We hope that Desi doesn't mind these things happening to her and sharing. We love that she shares them with us. And it's always a pleasure to talk to you and to have you back on. And it was really cool. Like that her grandfather still kind of hanging around,
right? At
grandma's house, where they lived, and that seems. I mean, that kind of makes sense. I mean, is it a ghost? Is it maybe her grandma's subconscious psychic projection?
Right.
Is it? Who knows what? But it's just neat. It's neat that that's a familiar spirit, I guess, or something that's still there. That's
no matter how he gets there, it's that comfort is a good thing. And then
exactly,
of course, the stuff that's happening in her new house, which I think is pretty interesting. Yeah, she'd said the house is relatively new in our terms being built. Yeah. So, but it could be residual stuff from before that's attached to that area. Could be something in the house that it doesn't take, but something traumatic or whatever for an entity to hang around. So it's cool to listen to her. Well, for us, it's cool. It may not be that cool for her, but
well, it's not overly spooky and terrifying, and that's important. And and especially when she's got her little girl there, and it seems to be friendly to the little girl because of course we always say that little kids and ghosts that's always the spookiest thing. Hi, how are you? That's cute.
Man, there's nothing more scary than that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think definitely when Ori asked her little boy who he was talking to, and he said, psst, 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 I think that was definitely more scary.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think Des is doing all right with
right. Yeah, she should be thankful. Yeah, awesome.
Well, Des, thanks. We appreciate it once again. We love you. We're glad you came back on. There are no limits to the visits that you can have. We love hearing from everybody. We love hearing. We always have the open door policy. People can come back on. And as always, we want to hear more. We want to hear from new people, and so we encourage you to join us and share your stories. We hope maybe that you took the assignment. I don't know if you saw this. I'm Barry. I know you saw it, but I posted on our Facebook and our Instagram and on our all the social media platforms. I put a reminder, things to do this Thanksgiving.
Yes.
And this holiday seasons. It's don't drink and drive.
Good. Yes.
What was the other thing? I should have put don't talk politics because that's that's a good advice I think for family gatherings. This is definitely a good one for mine. Now I've got to go back and find what I had posted. But okay, there we go. All right, so what I posted to our social media for this Thanksgiving is be thankful, which that's what Thanksgiving is all about.
Yes.
Don't drink and drive.
Yep,
and to collect your family's weird stories to share on the podcast.
That's right.
We hope that you guys did that and had safe travels and had a good time with your family and for this American holiday. Canada has its own Thanksgiving that was earlier in the year.
Yep.
I think theirs usually is in October, it seems.
Something, yeah. So,
and I did see one person tweet about how we should change it to Family Day. I kind of like that a little bit better than Thanksgiving because obviously Thanksgiving, the traditional story behind it has some problems. But that's neither here nor there for now. But we appreciate everybody listening and tuning in. Join us next week when we have more stories for you. We've got my upstairs neighbors.
Oh yeah, Grant and Noni.
We got them and their brother and sister, and they got some stories about their basement in the house they lived in.
Yeah, it's freaky too.
We got a basement story, and we've got a Ouija board story.
Yeah.
Tune in for the creepiness of those.
That's going to be fun.
And then we got a few more till the end of the year. We got upcoming stories. We've got Shannon, who called in from LA and has some just a lot of cool stories that he's got. A little doppelganger action going on, and some UFOs and some weird stuff. And then we also have Chad and Alta from New Orleans, and we had a long talk with them.
Yeah, that's good.
And that's going to, they had a lot of stories to tell us, and we're going to be splitting those up over 2 episodes. And that is pretty much going to be the rest of the year for us here on the podcast. And we've got all sorts of good stuff coming up for the next year as well. And we hope you enjoyed your holidays. And if you didn't, we're sorry. You should have come to my house. You can do that next year, or maybe we'll have a contest that people can enter, and the winner can have me over as their Thanksgiving guest.
Absolutely. What's your weird
That'll
Thanksgiving?
Be fun. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. I'll make it interesting.
Sounds good.
So anyway. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. We appreciate it. We love you guys. We'll see you next week. Be safe.
Be weird.
As always, if you have a weird story, we want to hear it.
If you have a lot of them, we want to hear them all.
We can't do this podcast without your invaluable contributions.
Whether it's sharing your stories,
listening,
rating,
and spreading the word about the podcast. Thanks for listening. Until next time, be safe.
Be weird.
The stories presented on the What's Your Weird Story podcast are, to our knowledge, true experiences that our guests have had. We can't take the time to research all claims